Hello everyone, my name is Mo. I'm a fifth year economics PhD candidate, and I recently noticed that there was some discourse going on in the YouTube community about what the best way would be to introduce currency into a multiplayer Minecraft server. I'll talk a bit about each of the proposals, but mostly I want to argue that because of the design of the game, there is basically no room for money in vanilla Minecraft. Let me start by taking a step back. What is money good for? Easy, right?
Money can be exchanged for goods and services.
But why do we use this intermediary? Why not just exchange those goods directly? As it turns out, economists have studied this and come up with lots of reasons why money is better than the barter system. First and most important is the double coincidence of wants. Say that I've got apples and I want an orange. In the barter system, I have to look around town and ask everyone if they've got oranges and then if they want apples in exchange. I need to find someone that, by coincidence, has what I want and I have what they want. A double coincidence. With money, I can instead just find anyone that wants an apple, sell it to them, and then buy the orange off of anyone with an orange. They don't need to also want the apple. Money also keeps markets simpler by providing a single unit of account and a store of value. Unit of account means that instead of having 1,000 different exchange rates that you have to memorize between fish and iron and hay bales and so on, everything is just denominated in one single currency. Store of value means that you can delay spending something. So maybe you've got apples now, but you only want that orange next week. You could trade now and just take the guy's word for it that he's going to give you the orange, or you could make him give you money and know that you can buy an orange with it anytime. Finally, money is useful if you live in a society because it's the only form of payment that governments will accept to pay your taxes. Fail to pay those taxes, and the government will use its monopoly on violence to hurt you, which might sound harsh, but taxes are how we fund everything that makes your neighborhood nicer than the jungle, so it's probably worth it.
Pay your fucking taxes!
So these four problems that money solves lead to a few properties that money needs to have to actually work as money. I'll just list them quickly. Fungibility. Any unit of the currency is identical and equally valuable to any other. Durability. The money doesn't physically degrade easily. Portability. The money is easy to move around. Recognizability. The money is hard to counterfeit and easy to identify. Stability. The money doesn't rapidly fluctuate in value. Divisibility. The money can be divided down enough that it can be used for the lowest value exchanges. And finally, non-usability. The money should only be useful as money, not for anything else. Otherwise, people will take it out of commission for that purpose instead. Now, most of this doesn't really apply in-game. For example, everything in Minecraft is perfectly durable as long as you store it in a chest. It's all highly portable because Steve is jacked as fuck and can carry 20 skyscrapers in his pocket like it's nothing. But there are a few things that are relevant, and you can see in the proposed types of money that they understand this and acknowledge them. For example, most videos seem to recognize that diamonds are undesirable as a currency because they have use value. You don't want people using diamonds as money because you'd rather that they were using those diamonds as armor or weapons, especially on a server with a border. Both the Netherstar securities and the wheat currency realize that they have to stop hyperinflation from taking effect by making the form of money extremely difficult or annoying to farm. This is them recognizing the importance of stability. They both also solve the divisibility problem. In the wheat case, by choosing something that's low value, I imagine even something as cheap as iron would have to cost at least a couple wheat, or by fractionalizing the extremely high value Netherstar. And actually, I have to call someone out here. No, Mr. Pibb. Fractional reserve banking is not fraud. Austrian economics has been bunk for like a century, and while I respect that you've actually done your reading, if we'd listened to Mises back in the 30s, we'd still be in the Great Depression to this day. Anyway, here's why none of these currencies will actually work. There's a secret extra quality that money needs to have, and it's actually way more important than all the other ones. Buy-in. Money is only money if other people value it. Why wouldn't people value money? Well, think back to the start of this. What is the money actually good for? To facilitate trade. But in Minecraft, I'm going to argue, there's just not much of a point to trade with other players, which means that there's not much point to money. Let me explain. There's two main things here. The first is the difference between early and late game players. Early game resource production is very labor intensive. You have to spend a lot of player time cutting down trees, mining for iron and diamonds, etc. But once you've amassed a lot of resources, you can start automatically farming the basic stuff pretty easily. And especially if you have access to villagers, you can farm basically every item in the game at low to no cost. I mean, shit, Small Ant managed to do it in a Skyblock world. But this leads us to a problem. There's massive inequality between early and late game players. Especially in a world with a border, the people who got on the server first and hit late game are going to hoard all the valuable resources, and there's nothing early game players are capable of producing that the late game players actually need. Why would I give you a netherite pick in exchange for diamonds when all my gear is already mending netherite? I don't need this. The basic gameplay system of Minecraft generates inequality that stops trading from ever being useful. The other problem is possibly even more important. Minecraft is a video game that's fun to play. Okay, hear me out. Because money has to be stable and therefore scarce, grinding it has to suck. Otherwise, people will just produce too much and you'll get hyperinflation. But you know what doesn't suck? Playing Minecraft. Why would you sit there for 5 hours tending to a wheat farm to save up enough money to buy a diamond pick when you could just go mining, something that the game devs intentionally worked on to make fun, and just make the diamond pick? Trading is usually useful because of specialization. Maybe I'm naturally better at producing apples and you're better at producing oranges, so we each specialize and trade with each other. But no one's ever going to choose to specialize into something that's not fun in a video game just to get resources that they could have just gotten by doing something that is fun. Real economies work because work sucks. The problem is most things in Minecraft are designed to not suck. And on a similar note, money only works when there are enforceable property rights. If I can just steal your oranges, there's no point trading my apples for them. But of course, PvP and griefing other players is some of the most fun that you can have in multiplayer Minecraft. Why would I grind out 10 nether stars when I could just go base hunting and try to kill people? They're both dangerous, but at least one of them adds lore to the server. So, in short, there's nothing of value poor people can give the rich. The poor people would rather play the game and get rich than do a boring grind and trade with each other. And the rich people have no reason to trade with each other because they've already hoarded all of the resources they could ever need. So there's no one to trade with anyone else, no trade, no money. Now, I want to be clear. This argument is only limited to trade between players in a relatively vanilla world. Obviously, the villager trading system exists and is extremely valuable, but it works because 1, the villagers are NPCs, so we don't have to care about inequality with them. They're basically just machines that convert sticks into diamonds. And 2, it's usually easier to get items through villager trading than it is getting it the quote-unquote natural way. There's also plenty of viable currencies in Minecraft servers that have mods. For example, the Hypixel Skyblock has a ton of high-value items that you can only purchase through the server currency. That forces people to interact with it, and you make that in-game currency by doing things that are fun. So it's a fun reward for doing fun things. These servers do still suffer with some inequality, but because the items are mostly coming from NPCs or like different renewable events, resource gathering is far less rivalrous. In his original video, KCJ proposed adding taxes only payable in nether stars. This would work as a way of forcing players to engage with the currency, but I worry that it's a bit of an anti-fun mechanic because it doesn't actually solve the problem that there's still no reason to trade, no fun reason. You're just forcing this onto people. He also doesn't specify how the money would actually be injected into the economy, other than this kind of silly idea of the mods contracting one of the players to build a PvP arena for them. But like, the mods just have access to creative mode, so it would be way less costly for them to do it than one of the players in game. It just seems like a bit of a waste of everyone's time. So let's wrap up. I feel like it's going to be a bit of a cop-out in this video if I go this whole way and then I don't propose any idea of my own. So here's one. Let's stick with this idea of using the government monopoly on violence. In this case, it's the server's monopoly on being able to ban people, to enforce some kind of taxation. But instead of taxing people in a currency, let's give them all a half stack of their own player head. The twist is this. After some period of time, let's say a month, you have to have 20 unique player heads to be able to pay the tax. You add a mechanic that's similar to the Hypixel player-to-player trading thing, and then you make it so that players can trade heads for items at any distance, but never heads for other heads. You can also get a player's head by killing them, and at the end of the month, all the heads are deleted, and anyone that doesn't have enough is banned for a cycle.
So no head?
This works because the heads aren't currency. Instead of grinding away at something boring to get money to pay your taxes, you get your heads for free, and they encourage you to go do fun things and interact with other people. You solve the inequality problem because every player's head is equally valuable. So you give everyone something that is actually worthwhile. You can imagine a new player getting some really high quality armor from a late game player that's just kind of low on their heads at the end of the month and needs to get something from someone. You give people two routes to pay their tax. They can either become a hunter, which is just fun, or you can become a productive trader, which helps move the economy along. There can also be some fun dynamics here where some players' heads are worth more or less than others because everyone's already got that guy's head. I don't know. I haven't thought it through all the way. The numbers are definitely just guesses. You would have to find the correct balance for how many heads to give each player and what to require of everyone. You'd probably have to implement some kind of a banking system so people could store their heads somewhere safe. But I feel like this is like a smart way to try to encourage more player interaction, not by forcing people to spend a bunch of time doing boring grinding, but by encouraging them to engage with the inherent Minecraft gameplay mechanics that they already enjoy. All right, thank you very much. This has been Why Money Doesn't Work in Minecraft.